Hi, my name's Zach. This is my classroom management plan presentation for EDN358. So there are many things that can contribute to a student misbehaving in the classroom. Things such as disruptive home life, socialising with the wrong group of individuals, an unmotivated teacher, and a bad environment, and bad student-teacher relationships, just to name a few. Two that I believe aren't covered enough. When the student doesn't understand what the teacher's asking in a task, that can lead to them getting frustrated, and that can result in disruptive behaviour and a lack of motivation. The second reason that I think is not covered enough is that the task that the student gives not authentic, meaning that the student doesn't see how the task is relative. This is where I believe authentic hands-on tasks are pretty important. Okay, so the teachers get a lot of roles in the classroom, one of the most important being effective management in the classroom. They also have a responsibility to connect with the students and develop and nurture good relationships with them. Something as simple as greeting them at the door can be effective. However, I believe that students should develop discussions with each student about mutual interests and things that students are passionate about. Topic 3 lecture, we learn about this strategy, connecting with students, as well as others such as doing activities together, showing interest before and after school, using their common interests. My philosophy, strongly centred around a classroom where the teacher still has the authority, but the students are greatly responsible for their own learning as well. This shared power in the classroom is considered to be a cognitive behavioural approach to teaching, as specified in Lecture 2. So I believe that students who contribute to their own learning are far more likely to remain motivated and on task. The circle of courage, developed by Brentro, Brokenleg and Van Bockum in 2002, was introduced to me in Lecture 2, and this aligns with the view of mine. So being independent, students are taking control of their own learning, contributing to the classroom environment. So coming under the section of generosity, students collaborate with peers, share opinions and learn from one another by seeing things from different perspectives. This aims to improve social competence, interpersonal behaviours in the classroom, the ability to solve challenging situations and to improve academic outcomes. So I strongly believe that collaborative learning and peer teaching are two strategies that allow students to take responsibility for their own learning. Topic 4 lecture reinforces this idea, as well as the Johnson & Johnson model developed in 1999, which states that cooperative learning promotes individual accountability, face-to-face interaction, interpersonal and social skills, positive interdependence, and group processing. On top of this, students are more likely to take on a variety of roles, such as leader, speaker, writer or scribe, etc. They're also likely to be more motivated to complete tasks when working cooperatively. On top of this, students are far more likely to develop critical thinking skills, which are extremely important in order to foster self-regulated learning. Okay, so moving on, my classroom management plan focuses on keeping students motivated and on task through the use of a variety of different strategies and interventions within the classroom. So strategies such as moving desks around the classroom to promote collaborative learning, developing a set of classroom rules and behavioural expectations with students, promoting hands-on tasks and movement within the classroom, and finally using a reward system to increase motivation. These are some ways which I'll aim to create a safe, welcoming and effective learning environment. Intervention strategies that I'll include are splitting up of partners, allocating undesirable jobs to students, and the use of proximity will be aimed at reducing inappropriate behaviour in a subtle way, as well as allowing students to know what is expected of them. This is important, as the last thing I want to do as a teacher is deal with inappropriate behaviour in a way that disrupts the rest of the class. Okay, so just to build on those points, moving desks around within the classroom into different setups keeps the students interested and involved. I'll aim to have students move desks in a different layout each lesson or every couple of lessons, so that they're continuing to develop their social skills with different peers, but they're also developing their problem-solving skills. This obviously has to be monitored closely, as not all groups of students are going to be working well together. And I'd really like to have students working with different peers as much as I can. This has to be monitored closely as well. So in some ways this could be considered a seeding plan. However, the students are being given power in this situation, which also adds to responsibility and accountability. Another positive in using this method is the students feel energised as they're physically moving around. So the development of a set of classroom rules will be the first thing I'll do at the start of each year or start of each semester or term. I'll be allowing students to collaborate with me in order to set up a list of rules that everyone understands and is happy with. I'll also be negotiating with students what a fair punishment is for unacceptable behaviour. So by doing this, students are fully aware of what's expected of them and know what the consequences will be if they demonstrate poor behaviour. In a study conducted by McGuinness, Frederick and Edwards in 1995, it was concluded that rules do not work in isolation and therefore should be used in conjunction with an overall classroom management plan, which is what I'm aiming to do. I'll be implementing authentic hands-on tasks at every opportunity for my students and will be encouraging movement within the classroom. By doing this, I believe students will remain on task and motivated to complete the work. Quickly moving into the next points, implementing a reward system. So at the start of the lesson, I'll explain to the students that if they work well throughout the lesson, they'll be granted a set amount of free time. They may choose to study for a different subject, interact with their peers, and I'll also provide the option of playing a game. As a sport teacher, this could be set on the school oval. By implementing this strategy, I believe the majority of students will aim to work well and get through the required work in order to receive free time. Of course, the alternative is that if they don't, no free time will be offered. Okay, so all of the intervention strategies that I aim to implement have been chosen in order to guide student behaviour and maintain a safe and welcoming learning environment, as well as keeping the classroom disruption-free. Excuse me. So splitting up students who are not working well together is a simple but effective way of managing their behaviour. By doing this, students recognise that they have displayed unacceptable behaviour and that getting split up is the consequence, really. It'll be at my discretion as to whether they'll be allowed to work together again in that lesson. However, come next lesson, they'll be given another chance to prove that they can work together. So allocating undesirable jobs to disruptive students is a pretty good way to guide student behaviour. An example would be a student who's not dressed in the correct uniform for sport class. They might have to carry some of the equipment back to the phys ed building. This allows the teacher to have a quick word with the student as well without the distraction of the classmates, and it's also a great alternative to singling them out in front of the class and disrupting the students who are working well. So the use of proximity has been embraced by many teachers. It's a great way of managing behaviour, especially in the classroom in a small environment. So by walking around, students will not have the opportunity to misbehave, as they know I'll just stand near them for a period of time. It's been pretty well covered. So the strategies and interventions of my classroom management plan are designed to allow students to think for themselves, work collaboratively, and ultimately to create a safe, welcoming, and effective learning environment. By implementing these strategies in the classroom, I'm allowing the students to develop critical and creative thinking, personal and social capabilities, and ethical understandings. These are in direct alignment with the West Australian curriculum, general capabilities, and cross-curriculum priorities. They also align with a number of Department of Education legislative policies, such as school management, covering almost all of the priorities associated with it, and safety and welfare in the form of duty of care for students and school safety and security. So, thanks guys.